Today is Monday, August 14. I'm Pastor Anthony, and this is Wilderness Wanderings. Today our text comes from Deuteronomy 6. Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one. Love the Lord your God with all your heart, and with all your soul, and with all your strength. These commandments that I give you today are to be on your hearts. Impress them on your children. Talk about them when you sit at home and when you walk along the road, when you lie down and when you get up. Tie them as symbols on your hands and bind them on your foreheads. Write them on the doorframes of your houses and on your gates. It's Deuteronomy 6, verses 4 through 9. I mentioned this before, but I've been struck by the absence of congregational worship from the life of the Old Testament. Daily, weekly, and annual rhythms of sacrifice and prayer were always going on in the national gathering place of the tabernacle and later the temple. And the weekly rhythms of Sabbath were ongoing in homes across the land. But there's no steady intermediate place, no church or synagogue where a community that was larger than one's household but smaller than the whole tribe or nation would gather for a weekly service. So much more emphasis was placed on the two anchor points at the extreme ends. On the one end, the central worship at tabernacle and temple, where the rituals of confession, sacrifice, forgiveness, and praise were rehearsed. And on the other end, the decentralized worship that happened week to week in homes when the Sabbath was observed. Here in Deuteronomy 6, the Israelites are finally at the doorstep of the Promised Land. Their wilderness wanderings have come to an end. For 40 years they've been shaped by that centralized form of worship. The tabernacle was pitched right in the center of the camp. Anyone could look down the row of tents and see it. Always, daily, the rituals were being rehearsed and repeated there again and again in the sight of the people. Always, daily, the conversation with God was being kept as he and Moses spoke face to face in the tent of meeting. Always, daily, the people were on pilgrimage with their God and their God with them. The ordinary stuff of everyday life was entirely and visibly intertwined with the sacred realities of God among them. But they were about to be scattered. Changing from nomads to homeowners, they would no longer be one big camp together in one place surrounding their central place of worship at the tabernacle. They would be scattered to their own homes and towns across the land, days away from each other. They might not see a priest or a tabernacle for months. So here on the plains of Moab, overlooking this promised land, Moses begins to remind the people of what they will need most in order to remain faithful in this new reality of life in the land. His speech here is about staying faithful in the everyday, ordinary stuff of life, not just in the centralized pilgrimages up to the tabernacle, and not just in the Sabbath rhythms of weekly worship at home. No, this is the ordinary stuff of life. To love God, to keep God and His ways regularly on your lips and in your heart. And of course you do this by telling of His stories and commands when you're sitting around, when you're on the go, when you're parenting, when you're going out, when you're coming in, when you turn in for the night, and when you get up the next morning. Make a note on your hand to remember if you have to. The life of faith has to be lived where you are, every day of your life, especially when we're scattered, as we often are through these summer months, but also just in the regular 6 days that fall between Sundays. Pastor Michael and I pray that these devotions continue to help you make that faith walk an everyday part of your life in just that way. And what are the other faith habits, or conversations with or about God, or spiritual disciplines that keep you walking and talking out your faith through the week, on your own and with others? As you journey on, go with God's blessing. May the peace of the Lord Christ go with you, wherever He may send you. May He guide you through the wilderness and protect you through the storm. May He bring you home rejoicing at the wonders He has shown you. May He bring you home rejoicing once again into our doors.